Brexit trade negotiations could be seriously disrupted by the election of a Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin coalition government claims an Irish politician, as recent polls predict a shake-up of the political consensus in Ireland. Speaking of how a Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil coalition would disrupt post-Brexit trade negotiations, Senator for Leo Varadkars Fine Gael, Neil Richmond said, "It would certainly bring a far more inexperienced team and a far more nationalist government to the fore in Ireland." He added, Sinn Fein are extremely hostile to both the EU and the UK. This claim is disputed by Sinn Féin TD, Teachta Dalla or Irish Member of Parliament, Owen O'Brien, who said that all of the Irish political parties are in alignment when it comes to their stance on post-Brexit trade negotiations. Many circumstances may affect the result of today's Irish general election, such as the arrival of Storm Sierra, the Ireland-Wales rugby match and the fact it is a weekend election as opposed to the traditional weekday polling. Record numbers have turned out to vote, making establishment parties wary of being set aside by a Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil coalition, although Fianna Fáil dispute claims that they would consider forming a government with Sinn Féin. Senator Richmond said, despite the firm line of Fianna Fáil's Michael Martin, a large proportion of his TDs have stated their willingness to enter into government with Sinn Féin. In Co-Wicklow, 34% of the electorate had turned out to cast their ballots at one polling station by the coast at Bray by midday, according to the Wicklow Returning Officer's Office. In Blessington, in the west of the county, turnout was 25%. Overall in West Wicklow, figures ranged between 18 and 25%. In the east of the county, turnout was averaging around 20% by noon. For nearly 100 years, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have dominated the Irish political landscape, but long gone are the lofty heights of the 1980s, when they commanded more than 80% of the national vote between them. Today, they're lucky to get 50% combined. Sinn Féin has been growing rapidly in the few decades since it entered the Dáil in Dublin, so much so that in recent years it has supplanted Labour as the third party. A left-wing party whose primary objective is to reunify Ireland looks set to win more votes than its rivals in today's general election, according to recent opinion polls. In what would be the best showing for the left in the country's history, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil have been the two centre-right parties that have alternated in governing Ireland since it gained independence from the UK in 1922. Even if it wins the largest number of votes, however, the party is unlikely to be part of the next government, because no other large party is willing to join it in a coalition. One obstacle for Sinn Féin has been its beginnings as the political arm of the Irish Republican Army, a terrorist group that fought a three-decade battle to forcibly unify Ireland. When Ireland became independent, the UK retained sovereignty over roughly a third of its population in the northeast of the island, forming a separate unit known as Northern Ireland. Following a peace deal in 1998, Sinn Féin focused on becoming a more conventional political party and expanding beyond its strongholds along the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, finding voters in poorer parts of Dublin and the countryside. Opinion polls suggest that many of its new voters are younger people who have no direct memory of the violent, late 20th century conflict known as the Troubles and who see Sinn Féin as an alternative to the right-of-centre establishment. These voters grew up during the last 2 decades as Ireland wrestled with the most severe economic crisis in its history as an independent country, tarnishing the reputation of Fianna Fáil, long the most popular party. Sinn Féin has also benefited from the transition to a new generation of leaders who aren't directly associated with the party's violent past, swapping longtime leader Gerry Adams for Mary Lou MacDonald.